Thank you, everybody. The recording has started.
Oh, sorry.
Welcome along to our February meeting, and for those who haven't noticed, we've got some, let's say, artwork. There's a little bit of history at the back of the room there on a map that was given many years ago. We finally got it framed up on some of the original drawings from Sorell, and Sharon was kind enough to run through one of the old pricing things that she was aware of earlier on and put up there. It was yours, Sharon, wasn't it? Pricing there behind.
Oh, good.
Thank you. A nice bit of history to have in the room anyway. Apologies, we have an apology tonight from Councillor Campbell. Can I ask councillors having viewed tonight's agenda whether they have any declaration of future interest? Thank you. So I'm duly noted. Confirmation of the minutes of the 16th of January 2024. Move the thank you. And Sorell, thank you. Any discussion on those minutes? I'll ask people to vote for the past minutes. Thank you. Passed unanimously. 5.0 the mayor's report. Move in the second. Read and Mayor, thank you. And invite questions or comments in relation to follow that up to the last one. Read.
The water quality update, everyone.
Well, nothing's really changed at all there. It's pretty well same on. They are doing it differently now, where instead of doing large meetings, doing the plans by Zoom, and it's a scaled down version, and then when they do their 6 months and 12 months report, it's a little bit more detail now. So, we have a meeting coming up at the March local government mayors. I think we attend the first one just to discuss more communication between only councils and the board and the administration of Tasmania. So hopefully that will be an effective way of getting just a greater focus on things that are needed, a bit more discussion earlier on the month.
Thank you.
Maybe do something this way on cap management.
It's actually got cancelled next week because of the election, but yesterday at the SDCA meeting, Sarah did come along to do a presentation, and it was very complimentary towards the program and what is achieved at Midway Point, and that they have started putting cameras in place to take photographs of some of the night cycles. And they're increasing the number of those cameras that go on. She spoke a lot about all councils signing up to some sort of program of support. So that as the program is expanded, it works. She was also complimentary to the school and the involvement of the community. They had 300 surveys come back, 57% of which were from the Midway Point area. So it was a very good level of communication on cab owners, what those up to. So the media event is planned again for a couple of weeks when people aren't quite as distracted by the election.
It's a massive national problem, isn't it? Nobody's been able to solve it.
Yes.
Can I just ask for a bit of information with your meetings lined up with the youth services?
Yep, just come from that. A few years ago. One is the contractor that is helping council prepare, do a survey and prepare information that will allow us to proceed with our request for funding from the Tasmanian Community Fund towards youth activities and services. Andrew and I organised a whole heap of young cricketers after training tonight, and then I've been able to organise a few other people that might need some direction, that are in trouble with the law, to give a different perspective to some of Andrew's kids, to just make sure they've got a good cross section of youth that were explaining what they wanted, what they needed, what they felt was missing, all those sorts of things. So it's mainly about hearing the youth voice in the region. We're doing interviews between Swansea, Uvita, Sorell, Primrose, and everything in between.
Yeah, excellent. And also you're meeting with the charges. Are they looking at using the stadium?
Yes, they are at this stage. They're looking for 4 games, and communication so far. Sonia's been brilliant. What she's been negotiating over there, she's hard enough to crack when they're saying move like this, move like that. There's no worries at all. It's on a few paper. But their first game, they like to involve the locals, so it looks like it's going to be centred around the South East Salvos being involved and promoted and their service and so forth. The second game is the 27th of April, and at the moment we're working with the RSL club to do an Anzac Day theme over there as well to promote Anzac Day and the services offered by the RSL. So they're just trying to become community minded when they come out to areas. They are playing around with ideas of how they can get local businesses to be involved and supporting financially and be involved in the night to bring the local content in instead of bringing all their own sponsors down. So it's sensible what they're trying to do, improve each year.
They've all done that pretty well. And just the interview of Silver Neil, did you have much to say?
No, he didn't have a lot to say. Luckily, he joined me out because he's doing a legend now, and I wasn't going to argue with 600 kilo steel. Bit of fun there, and SBS gave it pretty good coverage.
Do you know if he did much damage or there's no injuries or anything?
He's not arguing with him if he did do it. He's going to be over a ton when he gets back, so he can lay wherever he likes. Nobody's going to argue with him. Look, it did cause a few hassles, and it's marvellous how well the public just wanted their kids to stand next to, but their kids and things like that. And they are an animal for a while, so, and they move damn so quickly that you would ever appreciate. And that was probably one of the scariest parts about it. That we didn't respect just the size and the quickness of things like that. So we've learned a fair bit about the traffic management and the people management, and so the police. So.
Dog catchers will fit for next time.
Yeah, they've got a bigger stun gun and a bigger lead, and they want modifications done to our dog pound hang on to this field in the future.
Excellent, thank you.
Immersion tank.
You're meeting with the Rec Childcare. Could you let us know what was going on there?
There's a couple of different things happening in childcare. The one that we had was a meeting that Brian Mitchell organised for childcare providers and people of interest to talk about the lack of service or what was needed in the area. And most cancelled, so it ended up being a very, very small group that only went for a very short time, unfortunately. And the other part of it is that the Minister for Education has informed us that the one that was planned for the school as part of the school redevelopment, which was going to be sublet out to a private provider, probably to build and operate, something along those lines, is put off further discussions to at least the middle of this year, while they're using those old rooms for storage and a few other things in the rebuild. Once come about August, the school will be moving out of those buildings, and we hope to have a process already in place or progressing, all things being fair and equal, towards having a experienced operator do something there at the school too. It won't be as large as what's out the back here, it'll be more OT, but it'll still fit in with what they're trying to achieve on the school site. So there's a couple of things happening in that area.
I saw on social media.
You're the still also?
No, but I was really pleased you didn't dress in a seal suit when you did that.
There goes next year's idea.
On social media that I think it was the roadside collection crew that were advertising for helpers to, and you met with Lindy around
roadside rubbish pickup, because she's a coordinator, are they seeking council support? Can you tell us anything about that community group?
Yes, Lorraine Coller had overseen that group for a lot of years with the support of Councillor Torenius has given that group support for a lot of years. Lorraine wanted to move on from that, and some of the other people that have been doing the pickup were getting to an age where they just didn't feel safe wandering along in ditches along the side of the road. Lindy came along at the right time. We've had a couple of meetings with her now in regards to pickups. Most of it's controllable and it's done by the individuals. But Greg Robertson has always been supportive of that group, as well as several other groups. And basically, if the group goes and does a specific area because it's just that overload of rubbish, and they talk to Greg and organise a pickup point, he then arranges the pickup. Usually, there's people in those groups that wish to, and I know when I do it, I use 2 bags, one for recycling, one for rubbish, which saves you a lot of time, things you don't have to separate. But I understand when I was with the group is just about doubled in size. And last time I was doing it a month ago, a guy on a motorbike just pulled up and come over and started to talk. And he does his street. Now he's doing, I think, 6 streets in his area. So it's progressing, which is good. It's quite noticeable from the highway right through to the footy club. That there is considerable less rubbish around now that is back to getting done more often.
Thank you.
Could I just add to that? There'll be Clean Up Australia Day is going to be an en masse group doing some clean up security spots, one of which will be the Sorell recycling centre and the rivulet as well, and that Western Hill Road, that vacant lot that gets all the blown rubbish from Woolworths and various other spots. Yeah, so that's happening too.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Would you be so kind to tell us a bit about the pending CACG airport meeting?
Yes. It is a regular meeting for the community to be involved with what's happening at the airport, and Air Services Australia and various other bodies at various times come along. And it's predominantly an opportunity for Matt Cocker, who represents the airport police, to explain what they're doing with upgrades or issues. Leon, the Lions member here in Sorell, is in charge of the welcoming group of people that welcome tourists in, and they had some issues with some hold-ups and everything. We talked about that. And it's also a chance for various people to raise concerns with Air Services. Unfortunately, at this meeting, the Air Services gentleman wasn't there himself. They normally fly in from Sydney and Canberra to be part of the meeting. This time they didn't. He's assured us that we'll be there at the next meeting, and towards the end of this meeting and discussions I had with the chair after the meeting is that there'll probably be 2 meetings next time. One specifically to deal with the issues of flight paths and noise, and then a secondary one that just deals with the airport upgrade and things like that. There are quite a few people think that it's just sort of to do with the airport, but the leases of the airport are really nothing to do with a lot of the other issues that need to be raised. So it doesn't leave a lot of time by the time you go through everything to discuss a lot of the things that the public wish to discuss, or sometimes we'd like to discuss, but I've got the option of picking up the phone and ringing them any time. But, so the idea is to separate them into 2 different meetings to be respectful to everybody getting a fair go and talking about what's happening.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, it would be better too with Air Services in the room, because you can actually, it's a much more meaningful conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
There's nothing else, I'll put my report for acceptance. All those in favour? Thank you. Passed unanimously. 6.0, we do have an item 22.4, which is a tender and close. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Reid and Councillor Murray Sargent. And with that, I'll put that motion to acceptance. All those in favour? Unanimously, thank you. Council workshops and discussions listed there. 8.0 is council questions on notice. And the question there is listed and the explanation from our officers there. No motions on notice. 10.0 work group.
If I may,
Say-
yes, thank you. If I may, about the question of notice, I just want to thank the staff for taking the time to respond to this. It's a very thorough response. It has served a really good purpose to pass it on to community members as an information on the reach and the role of council and the things that council can do in regards to this, particularly aircraft noise. I think sometimes our residents are not that aware of how much council can do. And this is serving now, and it will serve as a really good point of reference, especially for people that are starting to be aware of the impacts of non-domestic noise. I do have a follow-up question from one resident when reading this, which is, and I would like to clarify this, maybe Robert, you can help me. It's about a summary that says pretty much, the question is, anything or any question or comments raised about aircraft noise in our community to council would probably be outside then of the scope of what council can do, and will be seen and handled as a complaint, and that's as far as it can go in regards to aircraft noise. Is that a correct appreciation?
Yeah, it's really, it would be, it's, yeah, because we don't have jurisdiction over it. But as we've done for quite a few years now, we're certainly happy to advocate on behalf of the residents to their Service Australia, but beyond that, we don't really have a statutory role per se.
And following up on that, we have, our mayor has shared with us, we have the upcoming Senate inquiry. And so our question is also being, is council going to put a submission on that Senate inquiry on the mitigation of aircraft noise? And will be advocating beyond that, maybe to senators? That's, if you could help me with that.
Yeah, it's really, that's our intention to do both those things.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. 10.1, 10.0 is the work group report. Move it, please. Councillor Gayos, and second by Councillor Reynolds, thank you. Please be accepted. Invite questions to our senior management, please. Mr. Reynolds.
Just a couple of questions for you, Russell. I'll go back there. I'm just wondering where we're at with Blue Lagoon and the stormwater. I know she met with NRA officer and some kind of consultants.
Yeah, so the consultants, through their consultants have, I suppose, been through all of the material that we've provided them and starting to form some opinions about what is possible and what is not. So we've asked them to basically draft those reports to come to us, which then need to come to council if decisions need to be made. So I suppose they're sort of probably 2/3 of the way through their consultancy, if you like, insofar as they've formulated some ideas and what they could or couldn't do, and now they're looking for guidance where to go from here. So that's both UNSW and Elgin. It's probably fair to say that the environmental issues that we're trying to deal with are probably more complex than the less straightforward than the hydrological issues that UNSW have looked at thus far. Yeah.
any sort of timeframe would be hard for you to put that?
I have asked Gibbers for any result, but, I would think that we should have those draft reports in a few weeks. Yeah, because if they've got to the stage where they've got to give us some findings so that we can give them guidance about where to from here.
Yeah. And your reseal team are a month behind?
Yeah.
Do you know what the cause of that is? Is it too much workload or?
I think, my understanding is that the Bridgewater Bridge, project is tying up a few of I think the contractor we've got is also the contractor over there. But I am conscious that I'd like the reseals finished, pretty much before we get into dropping temperatures and rainy season. So I really, they need to start by the start of March and be finished before Easter in a perfect world. So that's what we've asked them from a program perspective. So the original program, as I stated there, was at the start of February. So they are 4 weeks, already 4 weeks late.
So once the road temperature gets below 15 degrees, I believe it's not conducive to a good seal.
Yeah, for a single coat seal, we can't guarantee the binding of the material. Asphalt is a bit different because you can put it down hot, obviously, but for basically the single coat reseals, we like to get it done over summer. Into early autumn, but that's the latest. Yeah.
Thanks, Russ.
Thank you. Councillor Trench, you had something?
Thank you. Yes, General Manager, Sorell Rivulet Bridge. What's the latest?
Well, through there, don't look like that.
We had discussions yesterday.
Yeah, just going back a few years, council expressed an interest in taking on that section of road post bypass construction, but we wanted the bridge replaced first, but State Road's view was they were happy to assist us to get a grant that we've done twice before with the Primrose
And Sunnyside Bridge on YouTube,
in Primrose turnoff. And then we would then be responsible to deliver the contract. The prior council, this one, were quite clear that wasn't acceptable, that again, our desire to take on the road hasn't changed, but it has to be on the basis that I was getting nowhere with them, so just sought some assistance from the Premier's office just to sort of put our position back to them that it didn't quite make sense from our point of view and wasn't acceptable from this point of view. So the advice back, the verbal advice back is that they'll be putting in a submission, this is what we tried to get election vehicle. We'll be putting in DSG will be putting in a submission, budget submission to actually do the work themselves next financial year, or at least be in a position to attend the next financial year, and have that completed, and then back to the issue of us taking on the road thereafter. So that was.
Well, it's a bit of a step forward, isn't it?
It's very much so, but it's there's differing views on need to construct a bypass whilst the bridge is being built.
Well, yeah.
But I have nothing informal, it's just a verbal advice.
Thank you. I've just got a couple more, I might as well keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
The Dunalley Hall discussions, have we had any discussions yet with the successful group?
Yes, Stacey has emailed the group and has set a meeting for when she returns from leave next week.
Super. And page 18, the MOU with the Southern Beaches Land Care Management of Reserves. What is that going to involve? Because I do know we've had some concerns from some residents about the fire risks with those reserves, and I know there's not a great desire to have those areas burned off. So I'm just wondering.
So the MOU would effectively outline what council's role in the management of the reserve is and what Southern Beaches Land Care Coast Care's role in the management of the reserves will be. We're waiting for the completion of the reserve management plans before we have the meeting to do that.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting because you've got some residents, versus, you know where I'm coming from, the preservation of some of the flora and fauna in those areas, and I can appreciate that, but there's also that fire risk as well. The other
Fine line, isn't it?
it is. And on page 33, this is about resource sharing with environmental health officers, with other councils. What's our position? We've got a position on that at the moment?
We don't. The EHOs collectively were being proactive around meeting to discuss it, but there's not a great deal to discuss at this point. It's the reason the government has nominated the EHOs as being sort of one of the first potential resource sharing opportunities is because of the amount of work they've done prior on the supply and demand side of things, and also the qualifications as well through UTAS. So it's just, of all the various local government functions, it's the one that's been progressed the most. But having said that, they haven't done a great deal in the last couple of years on it.
So it's been triggered by DPAC, basically come as part of local government reform. So they picked on the ATOs, they've also picked on asset management, and they basically come back to local government to say, how would you implement it? And local government is saying with great difficulty because that's what we've already given you opinions on. So it's a little bit of regard to look at local government reforms going somewhere, if you like. And it's very much been led by DPAC, and we're responding to DPAC's inquiries.
We get to be involved with the HOs because the projected numbers of people in training is far less than what we need. So it stood out as an area where resource sharing will have to happen anyway. So it was a good way to start.
Just last one, Lewisham Scenic Drive Pathway, it's looking good. I was trying to think of the right word. No, it's progressing.
Fantastic to work.
Okay, I'll say that. It's progressing well anyway. It certainly is an improvement. It's improved that particular area, first stage of Lewisham Scenic Drive. Thank you. That's it.
I'd like to thank the council for organising the community meeting with the CERMP. It was really informative around the management of water runoff in the Southern Beaches area. I learned a lot from it. And I think everybody there learned from that as well, and there's a greater understanding of how we manage water and going forward with Blue Lagoon as well. I think that meeting is definitely of value. I've got another comment. On page 31, the environmental health report, there was a place commissioned for an assembly of people for a music festival at Nugent. There's actually been two of them. One was over New Year and one was a couple of weeks ago. Is there any way that the council, once these permissions have been granted, the council can inform the community, because of the volume of traffic on that particular road, on Nugent Road? There were no complaints, there were no accidents, which was really fortunate, but there were a lot of people from outside the area, Heathlaters particularly because it was a music festival for young people who weren't familiar with rural roads or gravel roads. Is there any way of informing the community that, you know, there's heavier traffic load on the road?
I'll have to confer with Greg around who has the obligation to notify the surrounding area of that sort of event, if it's us or the promoter. So I'll find out what the process is. I'm not familiar with who has the obligation to notify. So establish that.
And if they do, then we'll need to condition our assembly licences to reflect that.
Right. Thank you.
I don't think there will be some letters coming in from the Zance Road in relation to that. I wouldn't call it outright criticism, it's more just opportunity to make some suggestions to us.
Question, if I may, just on page 37, the assets update, as mentioned as the CCTV community safety project. What's the scope of that? Is that, what does the project entail?
So through there, the LGAP's got a funding program to basically look at safety cameras, but also to look at potentially getting police direct access to that rather than going through council. So the way Sorell is trying to picture at the moment is very much a fight between our servers and the emergency management hub, so that they would have the ability to cut whatever they want out rather than come through a fairly convoluted policy procedure, because there's all sorts of privacy and other issues with it that, you know, Perfect Work Council wouldn't be dealing with directly. We're happy to do our bit towards, providing the data to the relevant authorities, but we'd rather not be involved in the investigation part of that process. But there's also some questions about the technology that we're using. So the cameras that we've particularly got up are a certain nationality, and whether that's going to meet the national standard or not is also tied up in that discussion. So there's a few threads to that.
Is it looking at extending the coverage?
Slightly, but it's really about, I think, trying to get everything together and in the right place, but there is options also to go into other areas, depending on connectivity.
Thank you.
Technology is changing very rapidly in that field.
But it also ties up quite a bit of council resources from a governance, and that's not really adding a lot of value in my opinion. So we want the technology so they can cut the bit they want out and have direct access to it. And our job will be to make sure the cameras are well maintained and the footage is continuous, but beyond that, that would be the end of our
Absolutely.
Thank you. I draw councillors' attention to the following, capital on page 35, capital works and land improvements. And the first heading, footpaths, Red Oak Beach access, no change. The steps have been gone since 2021. It is now 2024. In 2022, there was a petition raised by local residents, 118 signatories, requesting, and I quote, council take action to replace the previously removed steps at Red Oak Beach, southern end. There is a budget allocation of some $25,000. The council's progress has been stymied by other government agencies, namely Parks and Crown. Can council, perhaps the general manager, weigh in on this project, as it seems that other council officers have been getting the runaround? Currently, there exists one set of stairs at the northern end of Red Oak that were erected by one of the boat shed owners. And as this beach is designated by council as the dog walking beach, then it seems that dog walkers have to wait, and they've waited long enough to have a suitable stair access erected. And in the interests of disclosure, I am one of those dog walkers. This item is still in the budget under the heading of carryovers, land improvements, and 86% of the budget still remains. So I'd like to know if there's possibility that we could get some action on this in the not too distant future.
Yeah, well, through Amanda, I was looking at an email here from Anthony from December, giving an update on his efforts in trying to get a resolution out of parks and others and some members of the community. And it's been a fairly frustrating process, so I will make some further inquiries about the most recent update and I'll report back to council on where it's got to, but it's, I mean, it goes back, his chronology starts back in nearly 2 years ago, from dealings with parks and trying to get some decisions and some direction, so.
Thank you,
I'll do that.
thank you.
Nothing else, I'll put the reports for acceptance, all those in favour? Thank you. No petitions before us at the moment, just the one listed there that's still on the table for you to go. Land use planning, the Mayor advised in accordance with the provisions of Part 2 Regulation 25 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulation 2015, the intention of the Council to act as a planning authority pursuant to the Land Use Planning and Improvement Act 1993 is to be noted. In accordance with Regulation 25, the Council will act as a planning authority in respect to those matters appearing under item 12 of this agenda, including the supplementary items. 12.1, I will move for the authority minutes from the 9th of December and the 16th of January. Mr. Gagos, thank you. And second, Councillor Nichols, thank you. Those minutes been circulated, we'll take them as being read. Is there any corrections or alterations to those minutes? Thank you. I shall put them for acceptance. All those in favour? Thank you. Councillors, 13.1, Local Government Reforms Commission. Move it, please. Councillor Rennies and Councillor Reid, thank you. And invite discussion from the floor. Councillor Reid, thank you.
Just to comment really that it's, it's such a long process. It's good to have milestones like this that bring together our view, council's view on things and where we'd like to see, the direction we'd like to see things going in. We'll see what actually happens, but perhaps like the environmental health example, there's work that just needs to be done at a local level in the meantime.
Yes, and that's certainly happening at a local level at the moment on the East Coast and a few other areas around the state, and it's a learning curve that we all need to go through. And just wish all councils had a little bit more open mind to the possibilities. We'll see what happens. Thank you. Nothing else, I shall put that motion for acceptance. All those in favour? Motion unanimous. Thank you. 15.1 is community grants program. I will move to this recommendation, please. Gagos, thank you. And second, Mr. Nichols, thank you. Right, discussion from the floor. In the discussion really understood there on that motion of acceptance and refusal, I shall put that motion to acceptance. All those in favour? Thank you. 16.1 is the executive summary financial report. Councillor Reid, thank you, and Councillor Nichols. Good to see our rates of collection despite quite a dramatic change in the economy. Interest rates and everything is still just 10% above previous years, so that's a pretty strong indication. We know the cash flow stays in line with our financial reporting. Is there any other comments on this at all?
I have a question, thank you. We received some invitation from Lega to attend the finance and asset management forum for councillors. And I was wondering if there is a budget allocation, or if the council has a budget allocation for professional development of councillors. That's the question, really.
We don't have a budget allocation specific for professional development council, but we certainly have various GL entries for different council expenses. So it's a case of working out well, because there's no budget specific to that element, we can work out if it's able to be dealt with within the budget performance overall, or any other costs, cost centres and costs generally, but I guess subject to the cost of attendance for this particular offering, then we can get that sorted out. There's obvious value for the councils in attending those sorts of opportunities, definitely.
Yeah, I'm using this one just as an example. But yeah, I thought it was a good opportunity to bring this up and just discuss whether it's important for us to have an allocation for us to like continuous development. Yeah.
On a merit basis, will always be looked at sensibly. Some of the metro councils do have an allocation each year, and a few years back, Hobart were able to accumulate theirs for a couple of years, and quite a few took a trip to Europe. And had a couple of council visits and amongst some great holidays. But now it's probably been brushed over a lot more towards a merit-based system. And that would be on a as required merits basis. I think that maybe too many councils. I've had to think of one, maybe two situations in my 11 years that I think it's occurred, and councils thought of that both times.
Just a comment, isn't that one of the recommendations in the reform, the local government reform, to have professional development included for councils?
Yes, they've got a narrow band of what they call council development payments. Some of the trips to some of the metros have been on, I suggest.
Just to comment from a practical point of view, in practice, if there's one of, particularly for the formal LEGAP sessions for elected members, which is every March, and then the contracts, which is usually July or December, anyway, later in the year.
Totally.
That's, if there's usually maybe one or two councillors from here attending, and that's always supported. It's just,
The gathering is a normally part of what we do as
Yes,
a day,
yes,
so it's
yes.
everything outside of that.
but if it was outside of that, there'd need to be more thought to it. And I would, as a member of the audit panel, strongly recommend that session on the 6th of March. For anyone who wants to understand the finance, asset management, and how that relates to climate action as well. They're the three different. And I don't think you get a better panel than the three that they've got. So.
The gathering trying to do a lot more work with that to make it attractive enough for councillors to wish to attend those sessions. And there's a lot of discussion behind the scenes about who should run them and who should be involved and what sort of interest level needs to be aimed at, because quite often some of the speakers aren't always, but this is a pretty good one. And they've learned a bit from the last few they've had that how to aim it to the level of information they want to come out of. They've got feedback from a lot of people in the system, so yeah, better at it. And I think we'll see it play a more major role in some of this mandatory training as well. Thank you. Is there any other comments on the?
I just wanted to make a comment, I think I saw it in another report, financial report, that we had a bit of a windfall in supplementary rates for 148,000. Is that the 2 yearly review? It's not the full, no. So
It's 6 months. Yeah, we can also request the subs to be done as they refer to them, but yeah, depending on the rollout of building completions for all types of development. So yeah, they are otherwise scheduled, but we can also trigger BG to do them on a ways needs basis as well, which is good for us for our revenue, obviously,
Mm, mm. How much does it cost?
to,
Get them to approve that?
I have to find out.
Oh, that's just,
It's not true.
no,
No, it's, I mean, even though it's the VG, it's, can be contracted out or may not, but you're paying full commercial rates for the valuation regardless.
Is that all? Financial report acceptance, all those in favour? Thank you, passed unanimously. 16.2 is the 2023-24 capital budget adjustments. Three, second, Councillor Reynolds, thank you. Any discussion on this at all? Councillor Reid?
A comment and question. First of all, just commendation on the preparation of this report and highlighting things in the deficits and so on. It's made it easy to read and very well explained as usual. So we'll certify that. The question is about the Marion Bay Road reconstruction. I just want to clarify, is that, or perhaps we could just recap what that actually is. Is it Marion Bay and Bay Road or just Marion Bay Road?
The one that you've got there is the one that you approved in the spirit of meeting, which is
From
copying up Spring Creek.
Thank you. Thank you. That's it.
With that, I'll put that motion for the budget review to be accepted. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. 16.3 is the operating budget, the mid-year budget review. Move, please. Mr. Nichols and Councillor Reid, thank you. Open the floor for discussion. I'll take forward with the work that's been done and the reporting that has been provided from the committee.
very detailed.
Extremely detailed, the information, not just the numbers, I should say, the information to go with it as well. Thank you. I shall put that motion to acceptance. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Four is the Sorell Council Audit Panel 2024 work plan. Move it, please. Or it might be Councillor Reid, yes. Second. Councillor Gatehouse, thank you. Any discussion required on this presentation of the work plan? Quite comprehensive if you go into it. Yes. That I shall put the motion of acceptance. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. 18.1 is the waste management services policy. Move, thank you. Councillor Gatehouse, Councillor Nichols. Quite discussion and questions regarding the waste management services policy. Enormous amount of work's gone into this from Greg. As with everything to do with waste at the moment, and the contractors and the potential service levels for a lot of things. And this, when we've been through it, gives our management team the scope to develop tenders and our processes with a fairly broad intention of delivering what we need in the future. Councillor Casada.
Thank you. A quick question about what the policy is reflecting. The question is, do we have all the tenders already done, or what's the update on that, and what is the policy reflecting?
I'll ask Russell to elaborate on that.
Yeah, so the tenders that haven't closed through there are the Green and Hard Waste extension for the 2 years.
Yeah.
So they haven't closed yet. So whilst we put the intention here is council obviously have to decide about that, and that's a little bit about how much money it's going to cost us and what the contractors can support. So that's still an outstanding decision to be made by council. But it's also attempting to say, well, this is what we intend to do, and that's what we're going to try and aim that education material that we've talked about to educate the community in terms of the direction that we're going as well, to give some level of certainty in terms of how we're doing that. So we've had one of those for a while. This is effectively an update with everything that's changed in that period since the last went to council. But you're right, all of the decisions haven't the bulk of them have been made, but there are some outstanding decisions still to be made by council.
So that means that once we get the tenders done,
Yeah.
this policy will update.
Yeah, correct.
Reflect that, correct?
Yeah, if it's any different from what we have to, we'll have to update that to reflect that, correct?
And how is now the education going? Like, what are the steps that have been taken so that even the changes in these policies sort of are taken positively?
Yeah, so, I mean, General Manager can probably comment better, but we reorganised customer service at the moment so that we actually had a semi-dedicated resources looking after supporting Greg in terms of the education for waste management. And I suppose coming forward, whenever FOGO might arrive on our doorstep, which we don't have an absolute date on, but the concept that this is what we're doing first and this is what it'll roll into, even if we can't tell you exactly when that's going to be, so that everybody has a sort of understanding about what service they're going to have and, what will happen to the existing green and hard waste services as part of that. So we've started working through all that work. And we're also tied into the two regional bodies, which is they've set up from a local government perspective in the south as well. So we don't want to, we're sort of conscious that Clarence has got green bins, but we haven't, but we'll be putting green bins out the 1st of July, so therefore the transition when if FOGO should be coordinated slightly more on a regional basis, rather than each council trying to do their own thing. So we're trying to line up as much as we can, so that we're not doubling up on anything, and we're trying to get some of those waste bodies to give us some advice about the way it's being done, the pros and cons of what's being done on the Big Island prior, so we go through a bit more of a sensible process as well. So that's the sorts of work that we're engaged with at the moment.
Thank you.
So, we continue with the weekly garbage until FOGO's introduced.
Yep.
And then it could possibly be 2 weekly.
Correct.
With larger bins or if.
All those options are still on the table in terms of the transition. But typically we're indicating what is likely to happen, but we're not absolutely putting it in stone and saying that's what's going to happen. Because a lot of it's depending on the amount of money that we can have or encouraging the behaviour that we're obviously hoping to take the community on the journey with.
And looking ahead, container deposit schemes not addressed yet.
Yep.
That'll be the next.
Yep.
Yeah, the next change that will impact schemes.
Yeah, so we believe the government's getting closer to appointing their preferred supplier of those services. And obviously we can't do anything until that's officially done that way, but we are trying to find out how Sorell, how service provider might service Sorell. And then once you take those products away, what have we got left? So the recycling centres, which might indicate the direction that we're going next about those.
And just involves the Department of Government as a form of legislation or legislative executive.
Well, the kind of deposit is a state legislation, but the decision about what we do with our recycling centres as they stand at the moment is probably more a council decision.
There's a packaging industry and see in the way about that.
They do. There's a whole heap of players that have got vested interest in the space, and that's true of container deposit as well.
Through the mayor, I think it's correct to say that the legislation in that respect's already been done.
That would have been fun.
And dusted 2 or 3 years ago, I think. 2 years
Probably a
ago.
couple of years ago.
2 years.
Yeah.
And then we've been waiting for the inaction of that, or the activation of that.
There's been a lot of complaining and industry lobbying regarding how the major contractor works. So,
Well, we've got some sympathy with the community that have been stockpiling these items, thinking they're going to be able to put it through a reverse vending machine and nothing happened. So we're sort of as keen as anybody else to basically unblock that and at least start that process.
nothing else, I'll put the waste policy for acceptance. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. I learned from that you meant to keep your bid 600 mil apart. So close together anymore, it's something every week. That looks like it is a problem. Questions from the public? Oh, sorry, yes. We've got a 1.1, a question from Helen Galloway with explanations there. Take that, and thank you, and yes.
I have a question about it. Okay. So it is something that is, also short stay accommodation is something that is within council's role or reach beyond the time scheme? Or?
Through there, that's, I mean, as Shane's pointed out, there's certain thresholds when we do have a role in terms of issuing planning approval, but those thresholds aren't triggered, then we don't have a role in it at all. So he's got the principal trigger in the second paragraph there around if it's using a place of principal residence for short stay accommodation is exempt. So yes, I couldn't give you the number, councillor, but there's certainly quite a portion of the uses and operation that don't come through council, because if they can satisfy that, then we have no role.
Thank
you. And questions from the public? Sharon?
It's already been mentioned tonight about the Senate inquiry into the flight paths, and I'm aware that Dr. Andrew Turkhurst has already spoken to the manager about putting in a submission, and that would be greatly appreciated if the council did this. I'd also like to mention tonight, Mrs. Kathy Manusi, who's here tonight at the back of the thing, has done an expert flyer, and if I'd like to ask if the council would put it on the website. This flyer would benefit everyone. It has a health survey on it, not just the Primrose Sands, but the entire Sorell Council. And the other thing I'd like to say is we're not trying to try to put the planes back to Dunalley. We're trying, our main aim is to get the planes to go down the coast, the east coast, over the water, right to the bottom of the peninsula, which is only a few more flying minutes, and up the river, and that way it doesn't affect any community, and we're hoping that all communities will try and go for that option. And yeah, if you wouldn't mind putting our flyer onto your website, that would be appreciated.
Don't normally put things on, just put it across to Jess because that comes up in compliance. So
through the mayor, we can't put it on the council website, but we can put it on our electronic community notice board for you.
That'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Thank you.
sure. Just get it off you just before you leave.
Sorry, I haven't actually got a question as such, but this is my first meeting, so I haven't actually had a chance to look through your paperwork. I support Sharon, and I don't want to take the time about the flight paths. Basically what we need is people to do that survey, that's what we're looking at. But I have got a question of interest on page 65. Can I go back into, am I allowed to do that? So the question I've got is that you've got two graphs there. You've got operational and capital monthly revenue, 2023-24, and you list it for the whole year, and then you list it again in a smaller sort of frame for August through to January. The question I've got is, I can see that the budget monthly is in orange, but you've got your revenue in blue, and the question is, in the months of October and January, was that government funding of 5 million and 3 million that came into the council?
And the man has got up on his screen.
And the question, and the follow-up question to that would be, is it looks like you're actually doing your budget monthly, so why wouldn't that have been represented? You know, why does it look like the budget is not matching the actual, you know, what's being budgeted is not matching what's, you know, is it a forecasting, you know, way you're presenting?
Yeah, through me,
Sure,
I have
forecasting.
to confirm with the finance manager that it may coincide with our rate instalments, potentially. I'm just not.
I suppose I thought if it's rate instalments, you would have actually forecast that. And it looks like your monthly budget is below $1 million per month, but for 2 months you've got nearly 6 and 4. So that's what my question related to.
I'll take that. I confirm that with the finance manager around the approach, because how they reflect rate revenue, it doesn't always, in terms of budgeting, it doesn't always logically follow when the instalment notices go, because we have to, you know, we make an assumption we're going to get X dollars or X millions of dollars in rates revenue. So I'll just confirm if that's associated with the timing of our rate instalments, or if it's some other form of revenue that's caused those fairly significant spikes.
Give some contact details when we get the brochure off you.
I mean, I haven't read your whole document, so maybe it may be in the written part of where it's happened, but I'm sorry I haven't come prepared for that. I just was interested when I saw that.
And saw the spikes.
Yeah, I sort of thought it may have been
See
some kind of government.
notification.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thanks very much. We'll get that file off you on your details. Just do that, please. And thanks everybody for their attendance. We have a closed session we need to move into now. Council would like to throw a drink or whether we just keep going through it.
Thank you.
Okay.